Welcome to the Five Phenomenon Podcast. I am your host, Shane Hazen. Coming up this week, I'm joined once again in a kind of sequel episode to our abbreviated and inebriated episode 50 with my brother, Chris Hazen. And we're discussing the only feature film ever to win a Nobel Prize. Oh, I'm kidding. We're just talking Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. A movie near and dear both of us to our child. Like, what movie did you watch most when you were a kid? This is near the top of our list, if not the top of our list. But first up, what I watched this week, I had two interesting watches. Have you ever seen the 1935 version of A Midsummer Night's Dream? It's directed by Max Reinhardt and William Dieterle. I was recommended this movie. If you're not, don't listen to Josh Olson and Joe Dante on the Movies That Made Me podcast, which this is a big Joe Dante recommendation. And true to his word, he mentions how this is a very gorgeous looking movie. And sure enough, for a Hollywood, the stylization in this is really particular, especially the dream stuff. This is a gorgeous looking movie. And also, the cast is crazy. It's got James Cagney, Mickey Rooney as Puck, Olivia de Havilland, a very young Olivia de Havilland, and Dick Powell in it, amongst others. And especially if you're familiar, with Shakespeare adaptations with stars over the years. Like, I really don't think I've seen anything of Shakespeare adaptation before the Olivier Hamlet. So it's a study in acting styles. It's if someone wants to point out the affectation or the theatricality of a 30s movie acting style, doing Shakespeare, especially Cagney in this. But then at the end, if you're familiar with the play, which for the most part I am not, the acting troupe stuff at the end, you just get this like layer upon layer upon layer of acting styles on top of a very gorgeous movie of Shakespeare from the 30s. So also, Little Murders. I wanted to say it's Jules Pfeiffer's. It's directed by Alan Arkin, but it's based on the play by Jules Pfeiffer. This is a movie that's been on my watch list forever and just got put up on the Criterion Channel under their New York series. And I don't know how long I've been wanting to see this. Like 20 years was when I first heard about it. I've known about Jules. I'm a Jules Pfeiffer fan, mostly through weirdly enough his comics. He's come up lately just because he's mentioned a lot in the Mark Harris, Mike Nichols biography. I remember him mostly as a cartoonist because I used to check out his book, The Great Comic Book Heroes, a bunch from the library. And then obviously we've discussed not only in the Mike Nichols episode, but other episodes, his script for Cardinal Knowledge. This play, I was expecting something different from its title. That's all I'll say. And it seems like it has more in common with Rem Avakian's Into the Road, which, for those keeping track, I'm still checklisting off more Gordon Willis movies that Gordon Willis has shot. And he shot Into the Road and Little Murders. So, two. But it's one of those, like, late 60s, early 70s movies that purports to be about society, man. And it bites off a lot. It gets abstract. I guess I've never seen a production of Little Murders. Two interesting adaptations, play adaptations I saw this week where I was completely unfamiliar with the play. But it's early Elliot Gould, so there's that to recommend about it. It was odd. So the movie we're discussing this week, Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. We did not get that drunk for this episode. For those of you who think that is a good thing or a bad thing, just a warning in advance. There's certain movies, to use the Doug Stanhope phrase, that apply to you when your brain is soft. You've seen them many, many times. In the 80s, there's a really special breed of those, especially for people like our age, my age, who just, the movies that hit us and really defined us are truly dumb movies that once you get past childhood, you can easily acknowledge are dumb movies. But as my brother and I discussed, we watch them over and over and over. And I used to have this movie memorized. I'd seen this movie so many times. The whole week leading up to this episode, I've had the Police Academy fanfare in my head because that was probably one of my first favorite scores, maybe before Star Wars even. And to feel the strongly and familiar and have these like tender feelings to so, as I will talk about many times in this episode, a truly bizarre, dumb movie. You can only do it on a 75th episode, an anniversary episode. Well, here's my brother and I discussing Police Academy 4, a little of our childhoods, and I hope you enjoy.
Like a ninja.
Well, that was
one of the ninjas that escaped the jail.
The fucking ninjas. Oh my god.
I'll be quiet like a ninja.
Like a ninja.
Like a ninja.
I don't know what the fuck to think about the ninjas. Oh my god.
What do you? I mean, what? That's not. It's typical. I hate to say it, but it's typical 80s.
Well, I was saying before we started recording that I recently watched Pretty in Pink for the first time, very first time, just a few weeks ago, at the drive-in, and this was nothing compared to Pretty in Pink. Like, man, this Pretty in Pink was pretty fucking bad in terms of like casual racism, but. And the thing is, like, for a movie about cops, like, there wasn't a lot of African American racism, at least in this.
I don't think there was a lot of African American.
Well, because all the bad guys at the bad guys, all the convicts that escaped at the end were to the T almost white.
Yeah, they were all white.
Yeah. When was the last time you remember seeing this movie? Do you remember it?
Oh,
There's
shit.
no, because the thing is that was a big reason we did this. It's just because I used to say Police Academy 3 and 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, Return of the Jedi were the movies I had memorized for a long time because I'd seen them so many times and we had them on VHS.
Star Trek 6.
I don't know.
I watched it a lot. Like it was one of those.
You know
movies.
what's because we're going to get into this. I'm going to ask you about our VHS collection, but if you can see up above my head is our old VHS copy of Star Trek 6.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's the one Dad got. Let's start off with this. Before we get into Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, I wanted to see if you could remember what VHS movies was in Dad's cabinet. Because Dad, we had like 2 years where HBO, we had an HBO and we taped a lot off that. And then Dad had it wasn't Columbia House, but it was like Columbia House where you got 24 movies for 12 cents, and then you had to pay a really high price for the next 10.
I thought it was a Columbia House.
Maybe it was Columbia House.
Yeah, I think
All
they
right.
did that before CDs.
All right, so here's what I have written down that I had remembered. Obviously, the one I kept is Police Academy 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
That was a taped one. We had Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6. Both of those were...
And 3. I think we had 3 too. Or also.
You sure?
Yeah.
I think that would have... Because this was covered in the last episode with you where we watched it at Grandma's.
I think
it was
Star
a beta.
Trek 3 was at Grandma Hazen's house.
Grandma Hazen had a beta of it.
Yeah, she had the Betamax of 3.
But Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6 were both...
yes.
They were bought. They weren't taped.
Yeah.
Star Wars we had. That was bought. Back to the Future was taped because Back to the Future started little ways into the credits.
We also had a lot of TV shows taped. I remember a lot of Knight Rider episodes.
Really?
Yes.
A lot?
Yeah, quite a few. Because I would tape them.
Well,
I would go back and watch them.
No, you know what I remember is one time I was staying at your house whenever I didn't have access to HD cable. And I was staying at your house, and I think it's like the 3rd or 4th season finale of a Knight Rider where it's the one of the iterations where they're in Chicago and Kit turns into a bigger car and like transforms into another toy you could buy.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen it, and then like I saw an HD transfer of it, and I was like, "That's so cool! This exists." And then I got through I stayed up late watching, and then I was just like, "Oh yeah, we had this on tape."
Pretty much every season finale of Knight Rider was Kit getting damaged or destroyed somehow.
Right, Car did something.
One time he got thrown in a vat of acid, and they had to rebuild him, and then he lost his nerve and couldn't drive. Or didn't have the nerve to drive like he did.
I always remember, I know it was the first Car episode, but the one where like it ended with like a zoom in shot on Car's light coming back up after he'd been destroyed. And the thing is, the stunt wasn't they just like flew into each other. They just jumped
jumped the bridge and they rammed each other. And I guess, I don't know if he had better willpower or what.
I don't remember what else was on our Back to the Future tape, but Dad for some reason had Platoon taped off. I remember that.
See, I really don't remember a whole lot. I do remember,
and I don't want to blend this into with what we had when we moved.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dad's collection because this is the one where we watched a lot of movies. I can't remember. Have Field of Dreams on there.
Oh yeah.
Tape version. I think that was a bought version. Short Circuit, I believe, was taped off.
Both of them.
We had Short Circuit 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I don't know if they were bought or taped, but I know we had.
I remember
both
that was
copies.
taped because we took it over to Mom's, and
okay.
I watched because I haven't seen Short Circuit 2 in forever, but
the
we
one
watched.
That really sticks out in my mind for some reason was Barbarella.
This is the second time I've never seen Barbarella.
Dad loved that movie.
I did not know this.
And I don't. I've only watched it a handful of times with him, but I don't.
You watched it with him.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was weird. It was freaky.
I didn't know. This is like my time of watching Pulp Fiction with Mom and our stepdad.
I think Barbarella is just because she was in scantily clad, outfits or costumes the whole time the movie. But for a kid watching it, there was a scene where there was like these robotic piranhas attacking her, and that was just freaked the shit out of me. I'm just like, oh my god,
that's so amazing. To this day, I've never seen it.
I mean, I haven't watched it in
Mannequin. Years. I remember we taped Mannequin off TV.
Oh god,
I'm pretty sure that actually I had a question mark about it. Yeah, no, Mannequin. I have fondness for Mannequin. The one I had a question about was Hunt for Red October. Did we have that?
I think so. I think we had a copy of it because he's the one that was like, you should watch this movie, and then of course then I watched all the rest of them. And later on, but Hunt for Red October, I think, was the first one.
I just don't remember. Yeah, it was the first. It's the first Jack Ryan one. But...
And then with the Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games. Was it Patriot Games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later and then Ben Affleck took over for Some of All Fears.
Yeah, I remember watching that when I was older. I don't remember that necessarily as a kid, but we had a lot of cartoons too. I think we had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
That would have been me.
Yeah, I think we had some animated Transformers. We did have a copy of the Transformers the movie.
Did we?
Yes. I couldn't tell you if it's taped or was bought.
I would think it. See, I remember the box, but I don't know if
it might have been later on. But we remember watching that.
All right. Also, before we go into the movie, this is basically a sequel episode to our last time, which I tried listening to a little of, and I had the raw tapes. I'm not touching the raw tapes. I couldn't. That was bad. And I mean, I was very self-conscious of myself.
I kind of want to hear the last, 10, 15 minutes of the raw, just to see what.
Just because you want to describe how I sounded towards the end? Because when I listened to the beginning before it happened, it was still it was coherent, but it was still more like, I'm happy drunk.
No, you were, but it was very quick. You were just talking normal, then all of a sudden you just kind of started talking like a Wookiee.
Oh.
Or like Jabba. I'm not a Wookiee, like a Jabba the Hutt. You're just like, so tell me about a time when.
I'm doing Ewok. Yeah, it's one of the funny things is it's helpful if you want to get sober to record yourself when you're drunk.
No, I don't think it's a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea.
Again, if I did.
No, I'm saying because afterwards I didn't drink for a while after.
Because I've seen videos of myself, people take videos on their phones like that, and you watch it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm a complete idiot.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah, I was a complete idiot. And then you're like, you start questioning other things, like how did I get home that night?
Yeah, we did this at my house at least last time, but it was and it sucks because we were in the middle of what I thought was a good reminiscence. We went a little down the rabbit hole on talking about Nana's house, but we talked about our childhood viewing habits, and we were in the middle of it. It was good, and then.
Yeah.
That was the reason I brought up Dad's VHS thing. That was one of the things I think we didn't cover on that. Do you remember anything else we didn't cover?
The cabinet. He was really proud of that cabinet because it had a little lock on it. I don't know why it was such a big deal.
I was proud of that cabinet. I love that cabinet.
Yeah, I think I took it. It's at the house now. I think he was.
Do you guys have it?
Yeah, I think we took it.
I
was gonna give it to the kids or something for storage, and I think it's sitting in our bonus room.
I remember it always felt like Sunday mornings. We'd have every other weekend, and it was Sunday mornings I would get up early and I'd put on a movie.
Well, yeah, because I still remember...
Because Dad would sleep into noon on Sundays.
I still remember getting up on Saturday and watching Saturday morning cartoons.
Okay.
I mean, still religiously, even until I was older. I just loved sitting down there and watching. Now obviously as I got older and
Well, I don't know
it
what the
was.
hell Saturday morning cartoons are now, much less have
I
been for
don't think they
years.
are. I don't think it's a thing. But I mean, it was Bugs Bunny and it was um,
Gummy bears.
Turtles, um,
Not gummy bears, was it? Was
Care Bears.
Care Bears? Is the
Was
one I'm
that
thinking
what
of?
on there?
Muppet Babies.
Maybe. But I just remember Bugs Bunny. Like there was always a earlier version of Bugs Bunny, and then they had a later version of Bugs Bunny, and usually that was the beginning of the end. Like it, when you started watching Bugs Bunny, you got up early, and then when the last episode of Bugs Bunny, it was like, okay, it's done. It's time to go outside.
Yeah, it's time to go outside.
Get dressed, go outside, kids.
Yeah, well, Dad would get up by that point.
Yeah, yeah. It's like get some lunch, get your ass outside.
All right, do we want to go into the movie now?
Sure.
That
was
we just watched
definitely
it. I don't remember the last time I saw it,
but
but I've
couldn't
seen
tell
it.
you.
But you okay? When we first started, you were like they started out with these shots in the opening credit sequence was them driving at night. It was Mahoney and I forget what Jones. Michael Winslow's is Jones. We're driving the cities and they just go
They're patrolling. Looks like what looks like patrolling, but they were singing or they were.
well, the song I looked it up is it is Michael Winslow. It's Michael Winslow and the L.A. Dream Team is the but you said I don't remember this.
I did the sound effects he does in between like the chorus. I started after a few minutes of watching. I'm like, oh, this is starting to come back.
Yeah, no, because when it came back with a vengeance.
Yes. Then especially and then when they start singing "Citizens on Patrol," I'm like, patrol,
Oh
patrol,
no,
patrol, and I'm like,
shit came back to me a few scenes in.
No, different scenes came in, but like the song when they were singing that part, that's when it's like, oh yeah, I remember this song. Then slowly but surely,
The thing that struck me about this, and when I was also the other thing I was looking up while we were watching it is that Police Academy has a very I think the first four all have different directors. I think they all have different directors. They're all sitcom directors. Like this is so sitcom-y.
the whole movie's very very sitcom-y.
One of the reviews I looked up too also pointed out that like this movie is designed for 10-year-old mainly boys. Good thing we watched it when like I would have been 6 when this came out. This is
I
1987.
didn't realize that one shot that showed
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember.
Wet t-shirt, no bra. I'm like, holy shit! I
We
didn't
wa-
notice that before.
Yeah, we watched that. We watched that in HD, our old VHS tape. Maybe that, or maybe we just weren't looking for it.
Maybe we didn't pay attention back then.
Yeah. Well, then the craziest thing is the first Police Academy, is a R.
Mm-hmm.
Second one's PG-13, and everyone after that's PG. This was a PG movie. There's like one shit in it. And then
because I remember I thought
it's not Callahan, is it? That wasn't wearing the bra.
Yeah, Callahan. Yeah.
Okay.
The female tackleberry is what I always call her. But yeah, that I guess that makes sense.
There's some obviously the mature jokes like
more mature. Yeah.
Just
past this one was very campy. I'm just like, wow. I mean, it was funny. It was entertaining, but
it was. Yeah, I mean, we both laughed pretty.
I did, and
I don't know if it's a nostalgia laugh, but we laughed.
I mean, I was entertained for an hour and a half, 2 hours, what it was.
I mean, you keep nailing it. It's just like the 80s is so. We were raised in the film historians typically say in American film the 50s and the 80s are the worst times, and well, they're the most homogenized. They're the most no risks were taken. In the 80s in particular, corporations started taking over the studios. And this movie, again, is so fucking sitcom-y. I also noted how many fucking ADR jokes there are in this movie, where like the joke is someone off camera saying something, which they recorded after they filmed, and they edit it, and they just make a joke afterwards. I mean, I had a... The old lady, this is on patrol. I forgot her name.
Yeah.
When she go, I remember you laughed at this line when we first saw it. I remember not tonight, but now where did I put that bulletproof vest? I remember you loved that line. Man.
I don't know. It was just funny. I mean, you got a lady that's like 100 years old. Her apartment's decked out in camo, and she's like, "Oh, I have bulletproof vest." Tackleberry's like, "This is my mom."
Oh my god!
See it in his eyes.
Yeah. Well, the number of people that were in this movie that neither of us, I think, realized that one of the main two citizens on patrol, young kids, the skateboarders,
David Spade,
was fucking David Spade.
Yeah.
The other one was Brian Becker, who was from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
I didn't
realize Sharon Stone was in it.
Sharon Stone
Like,
is a love interest with probably 8 lines. Like she's a reporter who's following them around.
And then, well, I think the funny part about that really cracked me up is, she's like, "Oh, I'll help you out," and she takes over a plane. And Tackleberry steals a plane. And then the
whole
COP,
plane sequence at the end is
well, no, the COP, they just take an ambulance, like they're just ambulances hanging around, like, "Oh, you need an ambulance? Sure."
Do we want to work up to the end? Because the thing is, like, you and I towards the end just started looking at each other like, what the fuck is happening? Like, where's this coming from? You specifically said, where'd they get an ambulance from?
I know. I'm like, like I said, I just was like, do they have ambulances?
But the scene, or 2 scenes before that, before they get to the air show, they have this giant ninja fight on a pirate boat.
A pirate ship.
There was a pirate ship in the middle of the harbor, and
but did you notice though? Because at first I was like, okay, the Asian guy is gonna fight the ninjas, and no, it was Michael Winslow.
And then Michael Winslow had the weirdest way of fighting. Like I don't know, did he do karate in the other movies?
I don't remember.
Well, because what was really funny about it is
he does the typical.
Well, that's where I knew the kung fu thing of like, oh, they badly dubbed their voices off.
Yeah, and he's like, rah, 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 rah. I do remember that though in all the other movies that he would do that. He would
do a karate bit,
bad dub karate bit.
Well, the thing I picked out pretty quickly is that he would do his own sound effects, and he's in the middle of a fight with someone doing his own sound effects. So you're like, wait a minute, is he punching someone? Or is he like fake punching someone?
Well, it was so bad. The one ninja came up behind him and he clearly punched next to his shoulder, and then he grabs hold of him, sprinkles imaginary salt on him,
and starts chewing his arm,
and then bites his arm. I'm like, you have time to sprinkle imaginary salt. Why this ninja's just standing there going like, oh yeah, I'm just waiting my turn to get hit.
We talked about this again before recording, but Police Academy movies, there was one a year from 1984 to 1989. And I guess they all made a lot of money. The one before this, Police Academy 3, made over $100 million. And they were not expensive movies. And I guess the other thing, this is 4 was Steve Guttenberg's last movie. Mm-hmm. But the cast, and there's only 3 actors who was in all of them. But I guess they just they made money, and all the cast got back together because they enjoyed each other's company.
Really, except for Gutenberg. I mean, where else? None else really did much.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be mean, but I mean.
Well, the one that always blew my mind was when I read the SNL oral history biography. They talked about Tim Kazurinsky. Is it Haverchuck?
Sweet Chuck.
Haverchuck. Sweet Chuck he only had like 2 or 3 years on SNL, but he in Chicago is considered a guru or a very well-respected improviser and comedy actor.
Really?
Yeah, and you have Bobcat and him, both who were like with each other, pretty big comedy icons right now, or iconish. At least
I think that's why they put them together. Seems like.
But at the same, Kazurinsky's just a fucking straight man. He's not really. There's some stuff at the end of the movie. He's like a little active, but
I mean, yeah, I think because he's just so small and squirrely. I think that's what. And then they put him with because he was always the fall guy. He's the guy that got thrown into the basketball goal twice.
He got thrown twice.
He just got tapped on the shoulder and fell in the pool.
Yeah, and I loved how like they cut away from it. Like they tapped him. He tapped him and he fell in the pool. But before he falls in the pool, they cut away and get another gag in and like. Yeah. Well, the repeating of sets too, or just more, or the pool stuff where they're just like, "Hey, ladies, don't wear a bra when you're in this scene." Like,
yeah, that's kind of
the '80s, man. One question I've always wondered. So I think these movies were shot in Toronto. The first one was shot in L.A., but the other ones were shot in Toronto.
Okay.
What city is this? Is it like? I
don't know if they ever say because
the logo, the patch logo they have doesn't say anything.
It just says Metro PD.
Does it?
Yeah, and they even that's the only time they mentioned it was like they just say Metro PD, like any city.
As
So
a kid, for some reason, I thought it was Cleveland.
I don't think I ever really thought about it. I just thought it was New York
I
because
remember because there's, I think it's Police Academy 3, which I think, I thought 4 was my favorite, but I think 3 might have been my favorite for a while too. But like 3 has this big uh, boat chase in the third act. The thing about Police Academy 3 as a kid for me, but besides that these movies are just juvenile as shit and like really prime for us, was I think that was the first time I was aware of what a third act is, where like a movie's wrapping up with its biggest sequence. And it's like everything in the movie's been building up to this point.
mm,
And like, and as a kid, when you've only seen a few movies, like this one has all the air sequence, the air stuff at the end. And I remember as a kid loving that and watching it now. You're just like, where? How the hell did this happen? Why are they doing this?
it's the 80s.
Yeah, it's just more
I mean,
like
that's what everything we don't know about really is just gonna be answered with. It's just the 80s. I hate to say it, but I mean, it's gonna. I mean, where do you go from like escape cons
do you think there's
to
cocaine on this set?
What's that?
Do you think there's cocaine on this
Oh
set?
hell yeah, I'm sure there was. But I mean, how do you go from escape convicts to in town to a country setting air show in the middle of nowhere? I mean, I want to know these imaginary towns where they're just like a giant skyscraper in one block, and next block it's like it's cows and cornfields.
Yeah. The first one was directed by I didn't get the name down, but he worked on WKRP in Cincinnati. And I think people like generally the first one has a little bit of critical acclaim, or was like at least liked, but everyone progressively went way down. Police Academy 4 has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Harris was I forget what his rank was, but the bad guy of the movie.
No,
Is it Captain Harris?
He always was a rank higher than everybody else, so he was, threw his weight around.
I learned the word pissant from this movie as a child.
I just remember move it, move it, move it.
Everything I remember, move it, move it. Do you remember when he's just like shoot, 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 shoot?
I think that was just for that one.
Every one of his fucking line readings, or like walking into the shower versus the clearly marked exit door.
Well, it's that was the slapstick part of it, because it's between him and Proctor, he yells at everybody, and then leaves all his deodorant and everything just laying out for everybody, and then of course
deodorant and mace,
and turns it to mace, and then 2 minutes later, the next scene, Proctor comes in and busts the guys for playing basketball. And then goes to the porta pot and takes a shit and out in the middle of nowhere, and then
gets the construction crew to agree to like drop the porta potty into the beginning of a football game.
Yeah,
that's a well-attended football game.
I don't know a crane that can reach from a construction site over to a football game.
And it's okay with like, oh
yeah, I'm cool with this, guys. No problem.
We're not going to get in trouble for this. They haven't done the national anthem yet. It'll be fine.
It's good. It's a stunt.
And by the way, the cop said it's okay, so we'll drop the porta potty in and we'll lift it up. But we noticed you're taking those bolts out, so we're
taking the pins out of the bottom, so we know that's going to be something.
I did laugh really hard at Proctor reading Archie.
Yeah, that was kind of. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wow, that goes from 88 to 89 to dated even more. So
this guy who directed it, he was mainly a sitcom director. I'm sorry, I it's not the best episode if I can't remember the guy's name. But his one other big feature credit beyond sitcoms, which would be something to us, is Mr. Bill's Real Life Adventures, a feature of Mr. Bill.
Really?
Yeah. One weird thing I noticed at the very opening shot for something, a movie I'd seen 1,000 times as an editor, they use an editorial trick that I used to use all the time, which and get in trouble for, where basically where you need to extend a shot, what you'll do is you'll take the shot, say you need enough space on it. You play the shot out, you'll cut that part, and then you'll duplicate it and then reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you reversed it, then you'll put the original shot back. So it's like back, forth, back, forth.
So you basically make a panoramic of it?
Kind of. But you extend it. And because the thing is, the first shot, it ends in a zoom. So like then they play it out when the zoom happens. But to get the opening credits in it, you just look at the water. And it's like the water moves a certain way. Then it moves back. Then it moves.
Going back to your question a minute ago, where you thought it was shot at, to me, all those opening movies that had a big skyscraper in the background and
Mm-hmm.
water in the foreground was to me was New York. It was the Hudson River.
When you were a kid?
Yeah, that's what I always thought every movie like that was. So I'm like, this to me, when you asked where it was shot at, I just assumed it was New York.
I remember lamenting a while back, or a few years ago, that's like, why does every fucking generic Hollywood movie have to open with a helicopter shot of a city skyline over water? But this wasn't that. There was a still shot of that. How much ball humor was in this? Like whenever they were
The
shooting dog, like I hear wedding bells.
Yeah, that was it. It was
No, because there was also whenever they were doing the shooting targets, and she got Tackleberry's big gun. She shot out the crotch of the target.
Yeah, she did. She did. Was that supposed to be a ball humor joke, or was it just like that's where she? I thought it was
There's
more
no way you can have like that. That is a very deliberately.
This 100-year-old lady shooting a 44 Magnum and woo flies back into the trash.
But if you get a ball joke in, you get the ball joke in, and like it's clearly the shots in between the legs.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The Blue Oyster Bar, gay bar, I guess, is a recurring thing through the whole series, but it makes its appearance here.
I think it's in several movies. I just remember seeing the Blue Oyster.
Okay.
And it was the gay bar.
That was actually probably one of the most uncomfortable modern thing in the movie. Otherwise, it was like.
But it was so stereotypical. Guys in leather, and
yeah,
they're in a
it's
in a dark bar a dark alley and a bar in the back.
Well, also then they force them to dance with them.
Yeah, they just
yeah.
They didn't show the anal sex. It would have changed the rating a little bit.
I guess I don't know if that was in all the other. The sequence with Bubba Smith's character, I forget his name, but when he does the voodoo character, and then they have the slasher guy come back to life.
Yeah.
What I can't say this enough. What the hell?
Yeah, but that was the one that did when that scene came out, or when they showed the scene tonight. I was like, okay, I remember exactly what happened here. I remember even getting down to the yama 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 yama.
I do remember the yama yama yama. And
Jobu.
But then like this Jason / Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing comes up, a Tackleberry with a mask, and you can take out the mask now.
Oh, you can take out the mask now. Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
That's a dad joke right there of anything.
You turned to me by a certain point and you were just like, how many times have we watched this?
Oh my God. I still can't figure out how many times we watched it. But we watched the same movies over and over and over. I mean, we very rarely.
Your kids watch the same movies over and over when they were kids.
They did when they were little. Now,
isn't that a kid thing?
Yeah, they did when they were little. But I mean, we didn't really go to Premiere or anything like that or Blockbuster when it became popular and get movies on a regular basis. So I mean, it pretty much was just watch what you had.
See, I misremember. It was National Video, then it turned to Premiere Video, and Dad used to. That was a thing when we were dads. We'd rent something from Premiere.
I just don't remember doing it as much.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean now, talking about the kids or my kids now, when they were younger, they watched the same movies, but now it's with streaming services, it's just right there, at your fingertips. I mean, they watch so much.
I remember the big coup was it was like a Friday night, and you remember when you went to the VHS, like especially when the movie came out, like the popular movies, they'd get a bunch of copies, but they'd still never get enough. And they'd take. And I remember finding the last one of Terminator 2, and that's when I saw it because I didn't get to see Terminator 2 in the theater.
I don't remember seeing where I saw Terminator 2 at.
Didn't Melanie take you to go see Terminator 2? Our stepsister?
Somebody.
I remember being jealous because you got to see Terminator 2 in the theater and I wasn't old enough.
Because I was like, that's, I remember Terminator 1 scaring the shit out of me because of the end, the animatronic Terminator.
Yeah, you have a thing against a stop motion animation.
Still bugs me. Even claymation today, it freaks me out. Like it was just that.
And you passed it on to your kids too, because I think Mackenzie and Ashley are
a little bit not as bad as I was. I just remember you could show me the biggest, scariest gruesomest animated thing right now, and I would be fine with it. And even CGI, I would be fine with it. But you take it and turn it into claymation, nope, I'm not watching it. It's like Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Heather and I were talking about the other day.
Your wife, Heather.
Yeah, and the large Marge scene.
Yeah.
You know, I was
No,
like, nope.
I think I have a similar reaction.
She was talking about watching it again because it was.
Or what about Twilight Zone, the movie, the opening with that's just a scary scene. Hey, you want to see something?
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that? Dan Aykroyd and Dan Aykroyd and Dave Thomas? You want to see something really scary? You don't remember that scene? It's Albert Finney. What the fuck?
No, I don't remember that. I don't remember if I ever watched the Twilight Zone movie though. I watched some of this.
Oh, now I'm almost tempted to just like before we leave tonight. Let's pull that up on YouTube. Oh, it's a fucking scary scene.
I'm good then. Yeah, I'm good. Maybe I'll brave it some other time. But
do you remember other titles from Dad's cabinet?
No, not really.
Yeah,
we should because the damn thing was full.
It was full.
There was like 3 or 4 shelves and it was full.
And it really was from this like 84 to 86 period where they had HBO for a little while and they taped a lot of stuff off of it.
Is that where we got a lot of our movies from? I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. I constantly bring this up. We watch movies from the weirdest, worst decade, but at the same time, that's how our sensibility came out. Ghostbusters would be one, obviously. We taped Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it was.
We watched that Ghostbusters tape over and over and over.
Didn't we have several episodes like Fraggle Rock too?
That sounds right. And Fraggle Rock's like an HBO show.
It was an HBO show, yeah, and I think we taped some of those.
That would sound right, because it'd be a kid's show we'd want to watch off of HBO.
Didn't they tape? I don't know if they taped them. I remember watching on TV on Friday nights was Miami Vice. I could have sworn they taped some of those too.
Sounds right. I mean, it's funny because I don't. You did the rewatch of Miami Vice. I
just remember sitting down like when I was a kid. I would sit down and play Legos and watch Miami Vice.
Well, didn't we used to do the thing where they'd want to get home on Friday nights to watch Miami Vice? Mm-hmm. Miami Vice was Friday nights, wasn't it?
I think so. Because that was the night I could stay up late. So it had to be Friday. It had to be Friday or Saturday.
I think the last thing I have about this movie is that it's such a weird. Like I always used to associate it with Porky's, but it has like Animal House and Stripes. Like they treat the police like the military for all this thing. Like they stay overnight at all this stuff. There's a lot of weird military sequences in this and they were like, I don't think police academies work this way.
I don't see it. I just see just a lot of stupidity and slapstickness. You know, it's
like the sitcom vibe I got was being desperate for jokes. Like they were constantly trying to make the most obvious joke. They would, and again, the ADR is like put a line offline, have someone fart. 80s seem like they have so much ADR flatulence. The thing that was really formative to me also from this was the ninjas and the skateboarding, because the skateboarding with this in conjunction with Back to the Future, which I never really got into skateboarding, but I wanted to.
Yeah, you did a little bit. You did a lot more than I did.
Yeah, but not much.
Yeah,
I had friends who were more.
But I remember, like this one, maybe they were just trying to come off a win from Police Academy 3. You know, they just doing that real quick and it just wasn't really a good movie.
Well, I think they're all the same level. They'll have diminishing returns, and like it was.
That's what you say yourself. Police Academy 3 made over 100 million, so then they're like, oh, they're sitting on a win. Pretty much, they got that. The writers like, oh, we can write whatever shit we want, and people are going to buy it.
Yeah, or the studio's automatic like we're putting this out no matter what. What kind of stuff did we not cover in the last episode that you thought about?
I couldn't tell you because I went much farther behind than you on the drinking part.
Were you? Wow. Okay. Because I guess I was too far gone.
You were pretty toasted, but I mean, I was getting to that point where I was starting to get sleepy, like.
But you want to keep going, and
I mean, it was good. Yeah, I was on a roll, whatever you're talking about. But at the same time, I knew as soon as I would stop talking, I'm just like, okay, this couch is looking real good right here.
I mean, we went down the Antar Lane. We talked about the staying over there and what we watched there. We talked a lot about what we watched whenever everyone would get together to play cards. And
I remember we brought up some of the Nana's house on the river.
We talked a lot about. I almost wish I'd cut that stuff because it was not movie related. But we talked a lot about Nana's house.
We did, and it's still not movie related. But
we talked because I don't remember shit about Nana's house.
I asked Dad a little bit about it the other day when I was over there talking to him and got some more information. and but it they after she passed away, Grandpa had offered it to him, and he said if he was in a better financial position, he would have bought the place, as like a, you know, not really a summer home, but a place on the river to have.
Really?
Yeah, and
When we went over to the house yesterday and we're having hamburgers, he was telling
Mhm.
me today that the way he prepared the hamburgers yesterday. He said his grandma. Maybe he meant Nana. I don't know if he meant the other side, but he was saying that he hates the way they're packed when they're given to you, and like he just wanted to take the raw ground beef and make a hamburger of his size. He likes
Mhm.
them bigger because his grandma used to do it.
a lot of people make their own patties.
Right, but I'm saying he did it for. I
Yeah,
assumed it was
they were
Nana's.
good. They were real
Although
good.
they were good burgers, yeah,
Yeah, they were real good.
they were good burgers.
I just don't remember ever seeing really Dad doing much grilling growing up.
No,
So to see him grilling now,
no.
I've seen him grill the last couple of years.
He had that specific way where I asked you about it. It's like, do you grill with the silver sheets under the
tinfoil.
tinfoil
Mm.
underneath it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I have and I said I have a grill up, and I haven't.
But I do go down to like the store and get the pre-patty stuff. A lot of times it's easy. It's just easy to throw them on real quick. Like when the kids have got something going on, we're in a hurry, we're busy. It's easy to just throw something on the grill real quick and make a
What
meal.
back to movies?
Back to movies.
What movies do you remember watching most? Because I named my 5, and I remember we had the same ones taped. Which ones do you remember watching too much?
Okay, so definitely Star Trek 6.
Star Trek 6 is 91, dude. You would have been 13 when that came out,
I understand. I
or
watched.
14.
Yeah, I know, but I would come home after school and I would watch it like every day,
Okay.
like before you would get there, and I would do my homework and watch Star Trek 6 because I just love that movie. And then
I bought you that poster a few years ago too.
Yeah, I know. I have that up in my office at home. I did watch. It seemed like Short Circuit seemed to pop up a lot.
We didn't bring this up, I don't think, on the episode, but we watched Short Circuit, or maybe we did, but we watched Short Circuit with your son Ethan, and it was a funny window to watch this.
He was surprisingly took it better than I thought. He thought he would just be like on his phone or just ignoring
There's
it.
a certain goofiness and just kind of I don't know, no stakes, like nothing matters in the 80s, like everything's a consumer free fall holiday. So sitcom-y. Just
but everything back then was so sitcom-y.
if that's a really parsed out, like it just seems like going for the joke, really desperate for the joke.
Yeah, I mean, but these were all movies we watched too. I'm sure there was just many movies out there that were more adult content that we weren't. Of course, a lot of movies we weren't allowed to watch.
But that didn't matter to us. We figured we watched what.
Yeah, we were younger though. I'm saying.
It's so weird how easy, like in your kids, like they can watch whatever they want. The parental controls aren't that good, but like we followed it. But then, like I think we talked about this on last episode. Mom would still let us accidentally watch RoboCop.
Oh, the first time I watched RoboCop was in Indianapolis with my cousins.
See, that's not what I remember.
Yeah,
I remember us watching it, renting it. Mom let us rent it.
She let us rent it.
Yeah,
I remember watching in their basement up in Indianapolis.
I think I remember. I've watched it in their basement, but I don't remember that was the first time.
I'm pretty sure it was the first time because that was when he got his. I remember I almost got sick to my stomach when the toxic waste guy
ran over.
Exploded.
He got found in toxic waste and turned to liquid, and then
the cop car hit him, and he kind of just like exploded.
You almost got sick to your stomach.
I remember that.
We were recording this on Labor Day, and I was thinking just today, like back in the day, we would have been driving home from Indianapolis to visit our cousins almost every year.
Yeah, this would have left this morning or this afternoon.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I know that's not movie related, but I remember as a kid just thinking a trip to Indianapolis was a long trip. Like we would stop around Terre Haute, and I was like, okay, I gotta get to Terre Haute, Then I get out.
It was a struggle because and that's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, and then get to Indianapolis, and it's another hour, an hour and 15 minutes, 20 minutes from Terre Haute to Indy, something.
Yeah, it was all relative because my Austin drives were 16 hours,
yeah,
and I would love
exactly.
the 3-hour drive.
Now you're just like, you drive up to Indianapolis without even stopping, get there, do something, turn around, drive back.
Well, I was thinking the other day about the number of drives you have we were talking about this because I was telling you I drove back from Chicago recently on 41, and just the drives you got memorized.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's even funny now that they got the interstate going, I had it, especially going up to visit Mackenzie or even going up that way, I have them
in Burlington.
The mile markers memorized to where I'm going to pull off and where I'm going to go.
69 in particular is just there's nothing going on for long swaths. So and even though it's such a faster drive and a great, glorious fast drive, southern Indiana, there's nothing going on.
It's all interstate. It's faster speed limits. It's nice, but yeah, it's right. It's just it's boring.
I think we've given up on talking about movies. the last thing I had written down about Police Academy 4 was, I think, the first laugh where I was like, I'm back to this movie. I remember why I love this movie as a kid. I don't know if I can be into it. And I think both of us laughed at it. It was early on in the movie. Was don't you ever touch my balls without asking.
I did.
It's it's such a milked look too after he says the line, and then like the rest of the police office just kind of like stops what they're doing to look at him.
Well, I don't even know what those things are called. The
balls, the metallic balls that kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah, it's supposed to be something for stress, but I'm like, that's such an out of place item to be in his office of all places, and of course, Proctor walks up and starts playing with the ball, and I'm like, oh, here comes the ball joke.
That's why it was like there's ball jokes all throughout this. You point this out too. I guess this is the last Police Academy 4 thing. Tony Hawk.
Yeah, he was one of the skateboarders at the end.
The influence of the skateboarding sequence I loved was, for starters, it's so crazy. Watching this in a Blu-ray format, you could see the stuntman pretty blatantly, but
you see the haircut's totally different.
Oh yeah, but then like you realize in the skateboard sequence now, especially, it's like this is David Spade as a really advanced skateboarder.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I really thought was really, and I don't know if this was all 80s movies or just this one, like nowadays when they roll credits, it's like they name maybe the top 5 or 6 big stars, and then everybody else.
Well, this is a big cast.
I know, but everybody else gets grouped together. Like it'll come on the next screen and have like 4 or 5 names. This one, they took turns and gave everybody their 2 seconds of.
They do that occasionally, but I mean the style of like showing a shot of the person as they're
Yeah, but even the skateboarders, they showed them all in a row rolling down a road or hill, and then they would, as one of them would,
you point this out because I missed
it would change the names, and then next thing I was like, there's next name, the next name, the next name, and then finally I was like, oh shit, that's Tony Hawk.
Yeah, Tony Hawk was the notable one I got. I didn't recognize
I didn't recognize the rest of them, but that's why Shaun White went in there.
I wish I had listened to more of that episode again, but I was not too deathly embarrassed to listen to that episode.
It was good up until the point where
it wasn't.
Until it got to.
Until it stopped being good?
It was good up until the point it wasn't being good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a good stroll down memory lane, but...
And that's the thing, I know people, some people listen to it and be like, oh my God, what are they rambling about? But for us, it's...
But that's a podcast. I've told you this. I got compliments on it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I mean, how people form their movie viewing habits is a part of all this, and this is and you and I have this great, as being brothers. What's great about this is like we can do the Rashomon of like figuring out who remembers what.
Yeah, but even nowadays, though, I mean, our movie view habits is so much different than from each other. Like you.
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
It's just that's a hard question.
It's a very hard question.
Why do I think it is? Well, it's just as I got older, it was something I just got less and less interested in. I did more,
and then I turned professional.
And you turned professional, and you had a much more interest in it. And you say it was your profession. It was less and less my profession, and I obviously started. I had started having kids and families. So then I started watching a lot more cartoons and sitcoms and just I think it's just you know just our different
It just
aspects of what we
I just
enjoy in life.
but we had the same taste for a long time.
We
Pretty
did.
close. Well, or did we? Did we always have it?
I don't know. I think you still because you were much. I remember. Okay, so let's break this down.
Preteen. I
Well,
remember. I
even
thought we
teen.
had the same.
Well, yeah, preteen. I don't know, but
Well, there was the age
preteen. Preteen. It was just. It was Legos and constructs and guns. Come on, man. That was pretty much it.
Well, there's also, I was going to say the age difference was like, Mom pointed out just how obsessed I was with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like,
Yeah.
I was really scared of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. But I remember not wanting to watch any of those kind of movies when I was a kid. But, as even going into teenage years, you got more into music, you got more into
But you got into I mean you.
Yeah, but as soon as I had an opportunity to get my license, I dropped music. That was my defining moment of when I decided not to get out of doing any kind of, because I was thinking about doing something else, but at that point I was so bitter with it with the teacher I had at school, and I was like,
Really? It was the teacher?
not as a teacher, but that was the final straw. Like I asked him, I went in one day and asked him, said, hey, I need to take driver's ed. And I said, I don't have enough credits to take anything else or drop anything else. I said, can I drop out of orchestra for a semester and come back? And he's like, if you drop out, you can't come back.
This was in high school.
This is in high school. And so I guess it might have been my sophomore year.
Well, you were in 16, so
yeah. Well, I was 15 and a half, so that was when you could take driver's ed. And so I was my sophomore year, second semester, and so I was like, well, I said, I want to come back. And he's like, if you drop out now, you can't come back. And I was like, okay, I have to decide whether I want to drive, which is something that was something I really, really wanted to do.
You wanted to get out of the house.
I wanted the freedom. I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted the freedom. So, or do something that really I enjoyed, but I didn't really enjoy to a point where it was a make or break.
I remember asking you if you ever thought about getting back into it just recently. You're like, not at all.
Not at all. No, and ironically, I guess I really, once I got driving and moved on from playing the bass, I didn't realize how much.
You were in an upright bass too.
Yeah, string bass. Yeah, I was the 6 foot, 7 foot.
Well, because your youngest two children are still pretty significantly involved in music right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, once I got out of it, I didn't look back. I mean, all I wanted to do was drive, and then I started getting more into, actually. Well, that was out of necessity, fixing stuff.
Oh, like.
Well, I mean, I had that piece of shit Blazer, so it was always breaking down. So then I had to learn how to fix stuff. Like I remember changing out a water pump, and I remember working on learning how to do carburetors and minor stuff, but they put a lot of that was out of necessity because I just didn't have the money back then to.
Well, our paternal grandpa was an engineer. He went to school after World War II, and you originally went to school for engineering.
I started engineering, yeah.
And then that didn't work out.
I didn't like it, no. Then I went into computers after that.
Okay. No, I always was curious because like there's a certain amount of drawing talent that's remained in the family throughout.
Yeah, of course,
drafting.
No, I did enjoy drafting. I really enjoyed drafting, the mechanical part of it. But I just didn't have the. I don't think I just had the patience for engineering. Sit down and.
That's definitely. I don't think you've never really sat down and watched me edit, have you?
No.
Yeah, the patience for that shit is.
See, I don't. I noticed that especially over the years, that's one thing I will pick on myself, that I just don't have the patience to really dig. Now, some things I will if I really, really.
I was gonna say, would you have patience for things you enjoy?
Yeah, I do, but even then, I get like even some of the stuff at work when we used to get back in the day when I really, really would dig into some projects. Even at work, some of the stuff I would just hurry up and try to get done. And then some if it really truly interests me, then I would really dig into it.
Let's get back to answering the question. Why do you think our tastes diverged?
I think that what I just said kind of answered it. Our tastes in different aspects in life change. I got more mechanical and less into the art side of it. So movies just kind of fell by the wayside. I still enjoy figuring stuff out. I obviously don't want to take apart a car now, but
I remember there was a point, it was when I was still working in the movie theater, and Peter Jackson's King Kong came out. And I remember that was the point I started using you as a barometer whether I thought a movie was going to make a big blockbuster, was going to make money, because you were not interested in seeing the Peter Jackson King Kong, and I was super excited about it. And that was when I realized, I don't think this movie's going to be a hit for people.
Really?
Just because you said, like, I don't know. And ever since then, it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, but we've argued over movies, money-making movies for years and years and years. I know we joked about the Fast and Furious movies, and that was one of the jokes we've run over the years, that like, those movies are shit, and they are shit. But
I kind of like those movies now. I haven't seen all of them, but
they make money. That's why they just come out with number 9 or number 10. I don't know.
Fast 9.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't seen.
And they make money. Well, it's kind of like the same thing with like the Michael Bay movies. We made fun of, I think, some of the Michael Bay movies when he was early. Transformers, Bad Boys.
You've seen almost all the Transformers movies.
And
I gave up after, I think, the third one.
Actually, I gave up after, I think, the third or fourth. They got really bad.
Well, one of them like is a cool 3D movie, but that I couldn't. I guess
the third one was the one where they blew up Chicago, I think.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
that one was a good movie. And then after that, when they switched to Mark Wahlberg, it just went downhill. And then it became almost. See, this is because I think I watched one.
This is Greek to me. It's just
I watched one other after that, and it was sad to say, but it was almost just find some young girl, put her in a pair of short shorts, and have her, flop around on set.
What?
And then have some guy with muscles, which is Mark Wahlberg, hold a gun.
Was there a certain point where like your movie taste had to be like, what is everyone in the family going to want to watch? Are you still picking the movies? Because your family has followed. Like Ethan loves Transformers movies too.
No, I think when they were younger, we would watch movies, obviously kid-oriented movies and movies they wanted to watch. But on the weekends, when we take them over to grandma's and grandma babysit, that was the time for me and Heather would go out.
Did you just want an escapism at that point?
Not necessarily escapism. Just sometimes it would just be like, okay, there's a movie we want to watch, but it's not for kids. We want to enjoy having the 2.5 hours to ourselves and not be disturbed.
I kind of want to see if there's a non-blockbuster you and I have liked in the last 10 years together.
Oh no, we'd have to go through every movie we watched. And
well, what's your favorite non-blockbuster movies?
I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
I honestly, that's a question I could not answer. I mean,
yeah.
Non-blockbuster movie that.
Well, I mean, a lot of what I've viewed of your viewing habits is basically what's on TV at the time.
I mean, and that just kind of fell into just because the kids were watching it. I kind of put my stuff. Plus, I mean.
Well, let me ask you some big movies and see if you've seen them. Do you have an opinion, or do you care, or you have not seen them? Godfather. You seen Godfather?
I've seen Godfather.
What'd you think?
I actually, so I'll tell you a story about the Godfather, how I watched him.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny. So when I was working down in Tennessee, and I was working on midnight shifts, and so it was very, very just super slow. We basically, what we did was we were just waiting for something to break, and so we would be there. They would have someone there. Basically, we always joked we'd have a warm body at work just in case something broke, and they would have somebody available, ready to go. On the flip side, for the person that was
you
there,
watched a lot of media at this point, right? You were watching.
I caught up on Breaking Bad. That's when you got me the CDs for them. I watched Breaking Bad.
I think there's a lot of TV overlap, but not a lot of movie overlap.
But anyway, so one week, I had never watched the Godfather movies, and I had decided I was going to watch all 3 in a week.
How was it?
It was, of course, now granted, it was middle of the night, so a little bit of sleep deprivation kicked in, but they were good. But at the same time, I thought they were just a little bit long and slow, and so I didn't see
what everyone was talking about.
Yes, I mean, it was a good storyline, very good storyline, and I followed along.
Have you watched many black and white movies?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's never really been.
Well, speaking of slow, you ever watched 2001?
Parts of it. I don't think I've ever finished it.
I remember when I finally got around to Blade Runner, you had seen it before I had.
Yeah, but it was one of those.
You thought it was weird, but you
It was
didn't.
very weird, yeah. And I never did. And I think I watched it when I was younger. I might have watched it with like dad or mom or somebody.
No, you're good. When we I remember when I visited you in college, you were watching The Gods Must Be Crazy. You showed me that.
God, this was
It's no.
crazy.
Well, the one overlap of like they're still blockbuster movies, but one would be the Nolan movies. Like I remember watching the Batman Nolan movies. You and I were
Yeah.
big into those.
But those are blockbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the last movie we saw in a theater. Well, actually, I don't know what the last movie we saw in the theater together,
God.
but for the longest time, we hadn't seen a movie together until we watched Star Trek Into Darkness.
Really?
Yeah, in Memphis.
Well, I mean, now granted, for years and years and years, we were in different cities. So I mean,
Yeah.
And it was kind of a joke. I always made it a big deal. Like if I saw a movie before you, I was like, "Damn, I got this movie before Shane did."
Well,
I was excited because like I'd call you up, and I'd be like, "Hey, I just saw."
Did you ever hear me like bored? Like, oh, I'm not interested in seeing that.
I mean, there was stuff. You tell me on the phone, like I'm gonna go watch this. I'm like, well, you tell me how it is. It was always a tell me how it is, and I might think about it.
Yeah.
But then there was like every once in a while, I would be like, hey, I saw this. You're like, oh, I haven't seen that yet. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I made a movie before you did. It was so.
But what's sad is Star Trek
happened.
is such a big deal for us. That is still an overlap that, like, even though you and I have different views for what Star Trek is now, but Star Trek Into Darkness, you think it's a shitty movie, right?
Oh, it was a shitty movie.
Okay. It sucks we had to watch a bad Star Trek together.
It was great.
No, it's J.J. Abrams. So, like, J.J. Abrams movies are always so good while you're watching it in the moment, and then it's the documented phenomenon everyone talks about. It's like 10 minutes after you get out of the movie, you're like, wait a minute, that didn't make sense.
That was stupid. But you know what? I actually, honestly felt that way about the last 3 Star Wars too.
Well,
like
I really don't want to go down the Star Wars rabbit hole.
I know.
Of the last Star Wars movies.
But as far as the Star Trek, the Into Darkness, it was
because the first one is really cool. The first J.J. Abrams one is really fucking good.
See, I just didn't like any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like the
Rise of Skywalker.
No, Star Wars. The first J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek. Yeah, no, yes, you're right. The very first one was
his first.
I think where he screwed up on the Into Darkness was just trying to rebuild a story that was already built.
Yeah.
In fact, he built a story that was already built well.
Yeah, and he also didn't seem that interested in it.
And then to hand it off. Because wasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that the time he just got the contract to do Star Wars?
It's close, I think. I think there's I remember there was a big deal whenever they announced him being doing Star Wars. But
yeah, oh yeah. So, but I mean, even the Star Wars he did a great job. But that's fine if you don't want to do.
Well, the reason I wanted to avoid Star Wars is because everyone has an opinion on it, and no one seems to be interested in developing consensus on the opinions on it.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, I feel like, and then the original movies mean so much to them, so they're just like, and they start naming like, this movie should have done this and this and this, and you're just like, but they didn't.
Yeah, we could talk a whole episode on just that alone, probably, of why I feel this type way of being, but yeah, I still think he should have handed it off to another director. That if he wasn't
I know the one thing I think is the closest to
writer just.
The one consensus thing I will say is that the argument I've been making about the Star Wars prequels is that it's pretty clear that like they didn't have an overarching idea, and like they missed out on George Lucas being a unifying vision, even if you didn't like that vision, and so you had alternating voices doing them, so they felt disconnected because of that.
Yeah. Well, and then I don't know, maybe there's some I felt too some of it was just to make money.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, dude. Chris Hazen, thank you for talking Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol with me.
Citizens on Patrol.
Citizens on Patrol.